mechanics over my shoulder. And a very good morning to you. Hope you're well. Hope your Thursday morning is going brilliantly. I'm going to kind of apologise in advance for this, that this seems to be what everybody's talking about. This is making news, folks. But, you know, who are we to question it? It would appear the king of hairstyles is about to lose his crown, or is he? David Beckham has had a range of hairstyles. I mean, he's style icon, isn't he? Not just with his hair. From his mohawk to the buzz cut, he set the trend. Well, he's been doing it for many years. Now, earlier this month, the ex-England football player was pictured in Miami with what appeared to be a very thinning hairline. But then just a few weeks later, Beckham suddenly has a full head of hair, and it also appears quite noticeably darker. So what is going on with Beckham's hair? Has he had work done, or has he got us all fooled? This is what people are talking about, folks, like it or not. Now, to talk us through all the possibilities, I've got with me Spencer Stevenson, who runs a website called spexhair.com. Now, Spencer, morning. Lovely to see you.
Hi, good morning.
We've heard your story before, but for those who maybe haven't, you have gone through hair loss from quite an early age, actually, and it affected you and you wanted to do something about it because you didn't want to have to go bald.
That's correct. I mean, when I was 21, I started to lose my hair. I'm 42 now. And emotionally, it just traumatized me. So, unfortunately, until you lose your hair, you don't realize how much it's going to affect you psychologically. It really affects your self-esteem and your confidence, as I unfortunately learned the hard way at a young age. And through various different processes, I tried to, stop the process, try different solutions. So be it that were advertised to me at the time, wigs, laser treatments, etc., etc. And then, long story short, went down the hair transplantation road, had a few poor surgeries, but then led me to becoming a repair patient. And luckily now I live to tell the tale. And now, thank you for mentioning my website. I kind of help support and guide people with kind of accurate information, because there's a plethora of inaccurate information in this industry. And it's important that people are guided, because it's a hidden epidemic, hair loss. There's a lot of people suffering in silence with it, and it's important they get accurate information.
We've definitely got the right man in the studio for this discussion then, because you know what you're looking at, you know what you're talking about. I clearly don't, because as you said, and we've had your story before, this is the first time I've seen you face to face, because we've normally talked on the phone. So I'm looking at your hair now. Is it all kind of transplanted hair, or is some of it still your own? Talk me through, because I wouldn't know. You wouldn't have a clue without you being honest about it.
I appreciate that. Thank you. It is all my own hair. The front third is, the majority of that is hair transplanted hair. The mid to the crown area, I've kept and prevented it from falling out through prescription medication called finasteride, which, in my opinion, David Beckham may well be taking himself to help, as a lot of A-list celebrities do. A lot of people, it's a very common medication for people to take. But that's been one of the secrets to my success, because it helped stop the progression of hair loss. So that's my head of hair.
And this isn't something you put on your scalp. This is something that you just take as a tablet.
Yeah, there are different products that you can apply to your scalp. One called minoxidil, which is a lotion that you apply, or a foam. But the main weapon in my entourage has been finasteride, which is a tablet that you take daily, which basically stops the process from a kind of DHT attacking the hair follicle, like you brush your teeth to protect them and keep them healthy. Albeit people that want to do something about their hair loss, there is a tablet that you can take to help protect and preserve the integrity of your hair.
So David Beckham is, as you say, you were quite young really to be facing hair loss. At 21. He's 43, which I would think is a more usual age for men to start noticing that they're thinning up top. So you think he potentially could be, we don't know for sure, but your guess from your own experience, your own expertise, he could be taking some medication. Do you think he's doing something else? Because we're going on the photos here. You've looked at him. you've assessed these photographs that everybody's talking about, the comparison between the two. There's something else going on there, isn't there, Spencer?
In my opinion, and it's gone pretty viral. I feel for David, because obviously he is an influencer. His hair, he's an icon. He's a hair icon. He's a fashion icon. He's a male grooming icon. All eyes are on him. So it's hard for him to hide anywhere, and it's hard for him to hide his hair. In my opinion, it would be apparent that he's trying to thicken up the appearance of his hair. As you mentioned, he was in Miami a few weeks ago, we saw, and then lo and behold, a couple of weeks later, he's in Hong Kong, and he looks completely different. And the colour of his hair is completely different, and it looked very matted. It looked very dark. So for an experienced opinion, I would feel he's applying what's known as nanogen, a concealer, and they're kind of creatine fibers which magnetize to the hair shaft. David's very lucky. He's actually still got quite a lot of hair, albeit it's thinning throughout. And as you said, he's 43 years old, and he's done incredibly well to get to this point in his life and still have as much hair as he has. But he's a bit of a victim of his own success, hence why we're talking about him today, because he is such a hair icon, and he's worn all these different hairstyles and pulled them off remarkably well. Hence now he possibly feels a little bit under the cosh with regards to maintaining that. Now, what David will intend to do, no one knows. But I think David would be, ironically, an incredible ambassador if he were to kind of shave it all off and embrace going thin. He could pretty much hinder the hair loss and hair transplant industry single-handedly, because people would see that it's acceptable, and people will embrace David for doing it. However, will he? In my personal opinion, given him that he's incredibly, David Beckham is all about the image.
Yeah.
And
well, that's how he makes his income now, isn't it?
Exactly. He is marketed as, and he's bringing out all his own brands and his male grooming brands, and ironically, his hair care brand. So, which I think he was in Hong Kong promoting.
Right.
So, we will wait and see what happens, but obviously David, all eyes are on David, and I feel for him, but it's apparent that he's doing something. And I think for all your listeners out there that, realize David Beckham is human at the end of the day. He's going to lose his hair, as we all do. And if people want to do something about their hair loss, it's important that they know there are options available to them. Now, I'm not saying go out and get this concealers that David's using. I think there he's just used far too much of the product, and he's been poorly advised how to use it. But there are options available to hair loss sufferers, and what people that are listening in and tuning, they may well identify, that they're suffering there in silence and not being able to talk to anybody about their hair loss issues, because it does affect your self-esteem. It does affect your confidence. And, there's a strong argument. Obviously, it's more emotionally traumatic for a woman to lose their hair. But believe it or not, it's a multi-billion-pound industry. And 99 products and services that are sold out there do not work. They preys on the vulnerable. And it's important that, for the likes of David, if he is to opt for a hair transplant procedure potentially down the line, will we know about it? Probably not. But we will, I think it's important that the hair transplant industry currently is quite a remarkable place. And it's important that people do their research and they realize that there are resources out there to get educated and empowered. We run a radio show called The Ball Truth. There are hundreds of thousands of guys, believe it or not, tune in monthly to listen and share their anxieties for a reason. So hopefully your listeners, some of them will identify and realize that there is help out there. And hopefully, even if David's listening, you never know, he might call into the show and get some advice from us.
Oh, David, just call me. I just want to, fantastic advice, and thank you, Spencer, for that. And I know, I think particularly for men, kind of the issue of balding has been kind of mocked or just joked about a lot over the years, and to many it isn't a joke, as you rightly point out. It has mental health connotations. Let's not forget. I'm intrigued though, because you say, actually, if David Beckham at 43 just embraced the fact that this is just normal, this is just, a lot of men lose their hair, that's just a fact of life, shave it off and just embrace it. And I'm intrigued for someone like you to say that.
Yeah, well, I'm all about empowering the hair loss sufferer. Surgery essentially is a last resort. But the fact of the matter is, as I said, I highly doubt David will just embrace it and go bald. If he did,
But you'd like him to.
Would I like him to? It's entirely up to him. I think the point I'm making there is it would be incredibly powerful and help many hair loss sufferers that realize, well, gosh, look, David Beckham's done it. He would be a hair loss icon. That potentially, like I say, a lot of people would be able to process it and deal with it. Funnily enough, because David Beckham has gone bald.
If it's okay for David,
it's okay for David, it's okay for us. However, the nature of hair loss and the emotional trauma that it does trigger is a reality. And I personally feel that, there will always be an industry surrounding hair loss. Everybody wants to make the best of themselves. That everybody would rather, in my opinion, prefer to have hair than not. Some people can embrace it and they pull it off really well. I personally felt that I couldn't. And going back to your question, if I had my time again, now that I'm 43, I would personally probably look back and think, why didn't I shave it all off? Because I could have put it off, because all my peers now are losing their hair and they're embracing it and they look great for it. So it's a personal thing. Hair loss, it really is a personal thing. But I would say to anybody that is dealing with hair loss, try not rush in. We all go through a denial process initially with regards to it. Once the reality kicks in, just be aware that if you want to do something about your hair loss, there are means to treat it and help.
Don't feel ashamed.
And don't feel ashamed,
absolutely.
Indeed.
Spencer Stevenson, great to talk to you about that. If that has kind of struck a chord with you, if you've got your own experience, you know what I'm going to say. You can get in touch. You know that. I don't even have to say it, do I? So I'm with you till midday.